We just got a brand new update for Granblue Fantasy Relink that not only includes the Lucilia's raid, but also a lot of bug fixes, but more importantly, tons of character buffs and nerfs. And so in today's video I will be going through the entire patch so that you can know which characters were affected by this. With that being said, hello everyone, my name is Dark Hero and let's get started. As stated, a new update comes with the Lucilia's raid, which you'll be able to access with the quest titled The Final Vision. Keep in mind that you will need to complete the Tale of Bahamut's Rage to unlock that quest. Sigils with new traits have been added to the Knick-Knack Shack, and you can get these after you complete the Final Vision quest, so do keep an eye out for that. And of course, new trophies have been added as well. The camera sensitivity and aim sensitivity now have two separate settings for vertical and horizontal movement speed so that you can adjust them accordingly. Additionally, a very requested feature has been added in the form of camera smoothing and battle camera correction to the game's options. And another very requested feature is the ability to just remove the voice lines from the quests that were bothering some people. Quick quests will now include proud difficulty quests, so you'll have more variety there. However, the Tale of Bahamut's Rage, the Final Vision and the Automagod Strikes Back were removed from that playlist, likely because of how long those quests are. The effective characters section on the quest selection screen now displays characters that are being controlled by other players that are in your session, and they have added treasure chest icons to the drop items displayed on the results screen of the boss quests, so that you know which chests the items came from. As for the online multiplayer, a bug has been fixed that was preventing stats from scaling even when power adjustment was turned on, and they have lowered the scaling of the HP and attack stats when matching with players that had the power adjustment turned on. They've also fixed a bug where the visual effects for the awakened weapons would not properly display, and more importantly fixed a bug that was preventing people from rejoining a session if they had disconnected. And now we come to the big section, Battle. Here is where we're going to see the big nerfs and buffs. First and foremost, a lot of problems with the auto-target switching and the camera have been addressed for a few different quests, so it shouldn't be as problematic as it was before. An important adjustment is the amount of link time extension that is granted by attacks, which in some cases made it so that link time was extended for longer than intended. They're likely referring to Percival's Flame Wheel skill, as well as some others that would instantly fill up the link time, and I imagine that the developers did not intend it to be that way. They have also added a visual and audio indicator to notify a player if their buffs have been removed, which is something that a lot of players had been asking for, and they fixed a rare bug where players were not able to properly aim throwable objects. And now let's get into the buffs and nerfs, starting with the Captain. The Captain is getting a major buff in this patch, as hits that raise your arts level will now extend the time before arts level resets from activating a skill. Additionally, there were a lot more modifications, with the skill cooldown shortening effect that comes from raising the arts level and that is given by the overdrive surge being adjusted, as well as the rate at which the skybound art gauge is filled up from certain skills and square and triangle attacks. Additionally, the amount of SBA gauge that is donated by use of the skill conduction has been adjusted as well, which I imagine has been buffed because the skill was pretty bad. They have also fixed the bug that prevented Djeeta from dodging right after performing an aerial barrage, and fixed the buff that was altering Gran Djeeta's movement speed while they were charging power raise. Up next we have Katalina. They fixed one of Katalina's skill cancels that was allowing her to be able to charge up the Ares gauge a little bit faster by not consuming her skills, and as you will see later on in this video, many of the skill cancels that were present in the game at launch have been removed from the game, but that's not the case for every single one of them. That being said, they have also increased the rate at which the SBA gauge will fill up by link attacks while Ares is summoned. Now let's move on to Rackam, the character that was capable of dealing tons and tons of damage by abusing the aerial shotgun playstyle. Firstly, they have fixed the bug where Rackam did not gain duration additional effects if he was under the invincibility effect, and they have fixed a very big bug that a lot of people were complaining about, the fact that Bullseye Blast would not work properly in multiplayer. It seems like it has been fixed, but here's the big deal, they have fixed the bug that was causing the damage cap of the aerial barrage to be incorrect, likely being the cause of the aerial shotgun playstyle dealing so much damage. So I would not be surprised if this playstyle ends up being nerfed to the ground with this change. Additionally, they have lowered the damage cap of Slagshot, the multi-shot 180-degree skill that also dealt tons of damage when used up close. It's a shame that the developers don't give us the proper numbers for how these skills were adjusted, but these are likely very big nerfs for Rackam. After that we have EO. They have fixed the bug where the area of the healing winds was smaller than it appeared on screen, so that is a nice bug fix, and this one might actually be quite impactful. EO should no longer lose the Mystic Vortex status effect, even after taking a hit that would remove positive status effects. A lot of EO mains don't recommend that you take Mystic Vortex. I don't think that this is enough to make that skill more appealing, but it is a very nice quality of life change. Next up we have Eugen, and there's quite a few changes here, and they are all bug fixes related to Eugen's grenades that either wouldn't stick to certain enemies, or his Sunbreak beam would deal less hits than it was intended, or that Eugen would not get the additional effects of intercept. It's just an all-around buff to Eugen, who was already an incredibly powerful character in this game, but they are all in the form of bug fixes to make him more consistent. Up next we have Rosetta. They have fixed the bug where after casting Lost Love during Link time, the effect provided by the mastery that would extend Link time would not trigger for replanted roses. Additionally, they have fixed a bug that displayed the wrong element for Lost Love, which is a nice quality of life change. As for Ghandagoza, they have fixed the bug that prevented him from dodging after performing an aerial barrage, and given how important aerial barrage was for him to be able to charge the Eternal Rage, this was actually quite a big bug. Additionally, they have extended the input buffering window for charging up the triangle combo finisher, and they have quickened the transition timing into charging the triangle following a combo finisher, so the developers are trying to buff Ghandagoza here. They are being very conservative with these changes, but I think that ultimately it might result in making the character overall more fluid and just a little bit more powerful. Up next we have Ferry, and there is a lot of changes coming to this character. Regarding the aerial combos, they have adjusted how high an enemy can be launched by the launch attack, and the hits from the regular air combos should now be easier to land. That being said, they have lowered the rate at which Skybound Arts can be filled up by using the launch attacks and the aerial barrage, so you will no longer be able to keep on spamming that with Ferry to just fill up your SBA and have it up all the time. They have fixed the bug where the pets would link attack a foe different from the one that you are logged onto, and they have fixed the rare bug where link time would not trigger if Ferry dodged after a link attack. I actually got that to happen a couple of times for me, so it's good that that has been fixed. They have also implemented additional measures to mitigate link attacks from missing due to certain terrain, and fixed the bug where the effective area of benediction was smaller than it appeared on screen, much like with EO's healing effect. Additionally, they have fixed the bug where the damage cap of Umlauf would be superseded by the damage cap of other attacks, and I think that this was resulting in Umlauf dealing a lot more damage than it was intended. At least the skill's damage didn't feel very consistent to me, so this may be the reason for that. And they have fixed the bug that would sometimes cause positive status effects of skills to not be granted if you were to use those skills right after performing an SBA. Looks like they are not going to directly change any of Ferry's damage, so the aerial barrage combo is likely still the best way to play Ferry if all you want to do is deal as much damage as possible. You just won't be able to fill up your Skybound Arts as fast. Next up we have Narmaya. They have fixed a bug that prevented her from being able to dodge after performing an aerial barrage, and they have fixed the bug where it was possible to make Narmaya execute the Don't Fly stance combo even while she was in free flutter stance. And up next we have Lancelot. They have fixed the bug where during an online multiplayer session, upon entering link time with supplementary damage, Lancelot would be able to retain that effect indefinitely, which totally sounds overpowered, so that is a big bug fix. Up next we have Vane. They have fixed the bug where certain skills that provided a combo skip effect would not need to be fully activated to provide that effect. So again, that goes back to the skill cancels, you being able to quickly use a skill, dodge before the skill cooldown is wasted, and still go into a combo finisher. That is no longer going to be the case for Vane. Additionally, they have fixed the bug that prevented Vane from performing a combo finisher despite pressing the triangle button right after a link attack. And they have fixed the bug that sometimes prevented Vane from immediately attacking after dodging if he dodged in the middle of a beatdown combo. And up next we have one of the characters that benefited the most from some of these bugs, and it seems as though the developers are directly addressing these bugs. So for starters, the Percival skill cancel combo, where you would use Royal Authority for example, dodge out of the way to cancel it, and be able to charge up your Schlatt a lot faster, that is no longer going to be possible in the current patch. And they have fixed the bug where the damage cap of the flame wheel, the rotor wireball, would be superseded by the damage cap of other attacks. That was the bug where you essentially just placed down the flame wheel, and if you didn't do anything else and just charged up your Schlatt, the flame wheel would take on the damage cap of the Schlatt, and so it would be able to deal a lot more damage. This is the reason why Percival was able to easily hit upwards of 50 million damage in the 60-second damage test, and with these changes it will no longer be possible. That being said, they have extended the input buffering window for a second charged attack following the first charged attack, so that is a nice quality of life change, and they have fixed the bug where the charge speed of the triangle attack wouldn't speed up despite being charged after an air combo. So overall they haven't touched Percival's damage directly, but given the removal of these skill cancels, he is going to be overall weaker. After that we have Siegfried. They have fixed the bug that prevented him from being able to dodge right after performing an aerial barrage. Very simple and no changes to the timing of his perfect attacks, which is something that I did see a few people asking for, so I am surprised to not see it listed here. Up next we have Cagliostro. They have adjusted how high an enemy is launched by the launch attack, and the hits from the aerial combos will now be easier to land. Additionally, they have extended the buffering window for you to be able to input your charged attack following the first charged attack. On top of that, objects that are created as being a part of a link attack should now be easier to hit the enemies, and they have fixed a very rare Cagliostro buff that would sometimes happen in multiplayer. Next up we have Yodarha. They have fixed the bug where the triangle attack would not counter if Yodarha was under the invincibility effect. This was a big problem for me because I often try to dodge and only then go for the parry, but now that that has been fixed, I do believe that the counter is going to be much more practical and a lot more consistent. They have also fixed the bug that prevented Yodarha from being able to dodge right after performing an aerial barrage, and another bug that displayed the wrong element for flashing void. Next up we have Zeta. There are a couple of bug fixes for her, with one making it so that if Zeta had supplementary damage from one of her skills, the extra attack effects could sometimes trigger a loop combo. Additionally, they have fixed the bug where the damage cap of Infinite Wonders, which I believe is Zeta's projectile, would be superseded by the damage cap of other attacks, resulting in the projectile dealing more damage. This might lead to Zeta dealing a little less damage compared to before, but at the end of the day it's just a bug fix. Now here's another pretty big one, Vaseraga's skill cancel combo, where just like with Percival he would be able to use a skill, dodge out of the way to not use the skill cooldown, and still be able to do the charged attack after. That is not going to be the case anymore. That being said, if you are trying to be optimal with Vaseraga, the way to actually deal the most damage with him doesn't rely on using skill cancels. I have made a video talking about how to optimize his combos, and they do not mention that specific combo cancel, so I don't think that that is going to be the case. So ultimately, I do believe that Vaseraga is still going to remain a huge powerhouse, and after all of these bug fixes, he might just be the #1 character. And after that we have Id, and just like before they have fixed Id's combo cancels, so Id is no longer able to use a skill, dodge out of the way, to not consume that skill and still be able to go into a combo finisher. That was very important to be able to go into dragon mode as fast as possible, so it is a very big nerf to Id. Additionally, they have fixed the bug where if Id dodged right after using Atonement, he would only gain the substitution effect, and they have fixed the bug that prevented Id from being able to dodge right after performing an aerial barrage. And finally, they fixed the bug that was reducing Id's movement speed while he was charging his triangle attack. One thing to note is that Charlotta was nowhere on the list, and she is a character that is capable of doing a lot of skill cancels to use her noble stance to deal a lot of damage. Except that in her case, the skills that she would cancel would go on cooldown, and after this patch, that is going to be the case for pretty much every single character in the cast. A lot of people were saying that the developers would never do this change because in the case of some characters, those skill cancels were actually very important. But ultimately this is the change that the developers have decided to do, and again keep in mind that this all started with a bug. There are still a few more changes that we need to go over. They have added a wording about the party having less than 4 members before going into a quest, specifically one section in chapter 4. They fixed the bug that was preventing players from being able to obtain a couple of trophies. If that was the case for you, it should automatically unlock whenever you go back to town. And they fixed the bug that was preventing players from being able to obtain trophies related to the crabs. Now I'm very happy about the next couple of changes despite them being such small changes. They have adjusted the speed of the mastery's cursor, basically just letting you go through all of the masteries a lot faster, and they have adjusted the playback conditions of the Gotel voice line from playing whenever transmuting sigils. That is of course the annoying parrot that always makes a ton of noise whenever you're trying to get new sigils, so I'm very happy to see that addressed. Finally, they have adjusted the visibility of the compass in darker areas, and there were a few more bug fixes done to the game. Overall, this is a very big patch with very few buffs but some very big nerfs. Personally, I don't mind it too much because that was entirely in the form of bug fixes, except for Rackam's damage cap on that one skill. That being said, the developers have hinted at a balance patch being a thing in the next title update that is going to introduce Sofon and Toyen, so I could totally see them buffing some characters, but ultimately I don't think that the overall character balance is bad in this game, and seeing all of these changes being addressed in the patch notes makes me appreciate the fact that the developers have been paying attention to what we have been saying. So I am very much looking forward to the next few patches, and I cannot wait for more content to be added to this game. With that being said, let me know how you guys feel about all of these changes. Thank you all so much for watching, my name is Dark Hero, and as always, happy hunting!